up, my dude?
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself, brother?
Oh, not bad. I'm far more awake than the Canucks offense, but hey, started to show some signs of life towards the end of the period there.
Yeah. I mean, tough sometimes coming in and playing on the East Coast. First game on the East, too, right? So it takes them a bit of a minute. And we've seen that from the Canucks a lot, but I mean, still three. Oh, they end up with 4 shots. They managed to make it to 4 shots in the period, but still not a great start. We're probably lucky to only be down by one. We're lucky to be tied, I guess. I'm doing it again.
It felt like we were going to be down for sure. Lankinen with some big saves there. He had to work far too hard in that first period. Canucks not doing a very good job of pushing St. Louis to the outside. They tried to start establishing the physical play, but then St. Louis ramped theirs up and came out flying there in the last 5 minutes or so, throwing the body really hard. This game is, I mean, both teams know how important the game is. I don't know why the Canucks offense can look so good against the Jets and then come out tonight and be so flat. It looks like they've been told some sort of game plan and they're thinking too hard instead of just playing and letting the play come to them. They're looking for specific people out there and specific plays instead of just looking for the open ice and moving towards it like they were reacting instinctively against the Jets. And tonight, it looks like they're trying to force things and force plays instead of just getting shots towards the net and then just driving hard. And the power play too looked like they were just trying too hard to get a fancy entry to the zone instead of just driving to the net. The one play they did have, unfortunately, it was Suter who kind of didn't throw the greatest pass across to Hronik there. It was kind of wobbling puck, and Hronik fanned on it. That was probably realistically our best chance. Yeah, they just got to get more shots on Binnington. You can't be goofing around and letting St. Louis turn back on us by shooting pucks into shin pads and things like that. Got to get it by them, get it to the net, and get someone in there working on the rebounds, making it difficult for Binnington, getting in his face. We know he thrives when he can see the puck, and if you can get him a little rattled, he can let in a weak one here or there. So need to do a better job of getting in his kitchen.
I think the one thing I'm concerned about, and I think we discussed this ever so slightly, is Binnington kind of seemed like in that Four Nations Cup, there was a couple times where you thought he was going to freak out and lose it, and he didn't. So I'm a little concerned that old Binnington ways, the young piss and vinegar of Binnington has gone away. So I don't even know if bumping them is going to make any difference, I think.
Yeah, and not even necessarily like bumping him. You just got to make his job more difficult. They're not making it hard on him at all. Like he's not having to face many shots. There's not much traffic in front of him. For sure, at the Four Nations, we talked about how it looked like John Cooper's kind of guidance really settled him down and brought him back to that quality of play we saw when the Blues won the Cup in 2018. So definitely a great job by Lankinen to hold us in there and keep it 0-0 through that period. But we're going to need a much better effort coming out in the second period. And I'm sure Tocchet is saying the same things to the guys. Like, look, you just beat the first team in the NHL last game by playing a certain way. Get out there, go north, and find each other and get the puck on the net.
I'm going to give a fat down to the Canucks faceoffs today so far. They've won 33.3% of the faceoffs. That's brutal.
Yeah, and the big thing is like there haven't been many faceoffs. That was a pretty quick period. But other than that, that was a big down on the power play. Is Pettersson getting tossed on that first faceoff of the power play, and then you have Jake DeBrusk coming in, who pretty much never takes faceoffs, just so they could have a left side shot take that one. And yeah, it created chaos, and the power play wasn't able to break in after that and get set up. And then we ended up taking a power penalty ourselves and going to 4-on-4. So we'll have to start matching the Blues physically when we come out in the second here. We can't we can't set the tone physically with a big Myers hit and then back off. Like we've kind of started to do there. We're gonna have to come out, be physical, stand up, hold our own, and start pushing the puck towards the net.
The other thing that I thought was a little concerning too, which I would probably consider to be a down, was the ice time. Because so far through the first period, the highest minute guy on the Vancouver Canucks is Pius Suter. He's almost played 7 minutes in that period. And if he's your top player, and then on the defense, it's Quinn Hughes, and he's already played 8 minutes and 38 seconds. Right? Those are numbers that are not sustainable.
No, and that's where, coaching is kind of like, okay, Rick, you got to get off. Clearly, your game plan that you brought forward isn't working right now. Regroup and get your top guys out there. They gained so much confidence last game. You should be riding them and letting them go. But again, all these guys look so afraid to make a mistake because it's going to cost them ice time that it's just like, it's a tough way to play. Playing afraid is a very, very difficult way to play. And I get the defensive structure is important, but you cannot be afraid to make a mistake offensively. You have to be willing to make those mistakes and recover from those mistakes, or trust your teammates to be like, okay, that one, it's okay to make mistakes. You just need to make little ones. You can't make the big ones. And when they're forcing it and fighting the puck, that's when they make the big mistakes. If you're pushing the play, it tends to be a little thing here or there, and that's usually better off than what we're looking at right now.
We didn't get a chance to talk about this last game because we ran out of time, but Canucks ownership, and they've been, people talk about Francesco Aquilini meddling with the Canucks, and even if you check out Blue Line Hockey, he actually just put out a great video about the Canucks ownership and the whole lawsuit thing that started the whole Francesco Aquilini. Really, really good. But what ended up happening is they did rankings for all the ownership across the league. So I'll bring that up right now so everyone can see it. Francesco Aquilini comes in at 31st in the entire league as owners. He's giving a rating of a D minus. And then just a couple of the stats that we're looking at. He was the majority owner since 2005. If you look at just the Canucks ranking since he took over the team, they've averaged 23rd in the league, and their playoff win rank is 20th, and obviously no Stanley Cups. And then it gets into some of the other stuff, right? Like fan base evaluation, willingness to spend, 25th, organizational stability, 30th, treatment of fan base, 31, franchise vision, 23. And then if you're looking at confidence in owner, they got a 43% confidence that it's higher than what they would expect from the guys. So all across the board, bad score, bad score, bad score. Is there anything that pops out for you on these graphics, or anything that you didn't know about before? Or
no, I mean, it's all pretty clear that we have a pretty poor ownership group that cares more about the almighty dollar at the end of the day than winning. We haven't had really someone come in and make their own decisions since really Mike Gillis in that 2011 run. After they failed to get that one done, I feel like Aquilini got a bad taste in his mouth, wanted to win so bad that he started thinking he knew better. When the Canucks needed to do a full rebuild, that's when he fired the entire regime there. Gillis went out. The Benning's era started. They tried to do the retool on the fly stuff, and the infighting with Trevor Linden and that sort of thing, and just all bad things. People couldn't see eye to eye. It's been well talked about how Rogers Arena is an extremely corporate crowd. They need to be told when to cheer, especially in the lower bowl. You got a lot of people who don't really pay attention to the game. They're chatting. They're not really watching what's going on. I would say the majority of the actual fans are in the upper bowl at Rogers Arena on any given home game. And that too can have an effect on the players. It can be like quiet. You look at some fan bases like Chicago or Detroit and how rowdy those buildings get, like right up to the glass. and even in Dallas. And that's one thing that's a bit frustrating is I'd be curious. Do you have the rest of the rankings? Where did Tom Gillardy end up?
He's in the top.
Yeah, exactly. So I much rather would have had him win that situation back in 2005. A local billionaire, I guess, who would have had the best interest of the team, the local fans in mind. And instead, he took his heart to Dallas, and look at where they are. They're pushing and are in a position to be a contender this year and push for a cup. And he allows them to make the right moves when they need to. And it makes a big difference when your owner just steps back and lets the people who know hockey do their job.
Yeah, we can hope that maybe we'll see that moving forward. But I feel like maybe Aquilini gave this new regime a little bit of leeway, but it seems like this year he's back to his old ways. So Canucks ownership sucks. Tocchet extension. He doesn't want to talk about it because he wants to focus on his playoff race. He already said that. But then today on 32 Thoughts, point number 20, Vancouver told Rick Tocchet it wishes to extend him, as Tocchet told teammate Ian McIntyre, this is not the time we're paid to speculate about it, but the coach himself sees it one way. He wants the Canucks to focus on making the playoffs, and his eyes are on the same prize. After the season, a bigger conversation gets sorted out one way or the other. But it kind of sounds like maybe Tocchet and the Canucks are on different pages, where the Canucks are like, let's sign an extension, and Tocchet's like, I don't really want to deal with that right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously he's focused on what's going on right now, but also he may not want to come back, and he's just not saying that right now. This push could be too stressful, and he may not want to go through it again if it looks like they're going to head to the offseason missing the playoffs, or not really getting into the mode of the players acquired that Tocchet is thinking. We will have to see. It's great to say that they want him back, and it's great for him to say, yeah, we'll talk about it in the offseason. But at the end of the day, it's really just another thing for the media to talk about. It is obviously like any UFA coming up or things like that. You don't tend to have coaches in limbo if they're the coach that you want. You usually get them signed pretty much right away. But this kind of feels like a little bit of both of the Canucks wanting to see how far Tocchet can go, and also Tocchet maybe wants to see how far he can take this team in the playoffs for his own negotiating ability to say, look, I took this group this far, you paid me this much. If you get me this player or this player, you should be paying me this much because I can get them even further. So we'll have to see how the rest of the season shakes out, but you know my feelings on Tocchet and the way his offense is. If they do bring him back, they really, really need to find someone that can connect with the younger players and find a way to get the most out of their offensive abilities, because the defense is fine. And at the end of the day, it's great to give up few goals, but you do have to score, 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 goals in a game to be successful. You look at the top teams around the league, and they're scoring 4 or 5 goals per game. Your Colorados, your Washington Capitals, your Edmonton Oilers, stuff like that. So high-powered offenses and a balanced defense is the key to winning the cup these days.
All-Star game. So I chatted with you about something, but first I want to show them Chris Johnston, who is down in Florida at the GM meetings that they're having down there. Asked Gary Bettman about the All-Star game, because they've said they're playing an All-Star game next year, like during the Olympics or before the Olympics or something. I don't really know. It's very strange. But essentially Gary Bettman confirms the NHL isn't committed to holding the 2026 All-Star game. Ongoing discussions about where things go. He says the Four Nations face-off raised the bar. So last night I had a stroke of an idea, which might have just been a stroke, but we'll call it an idea for now. The way I thought about it was we'll do the exact same thing they did. Obviously, it'll be a bigger tournament because it'll be the World Cup the next time they play. But then when they play that last game, so USA, let's say it's USA versus Canada, then we call that one game 1, right? Because then there's 2 other years where they need to fill where there would normally be an All-Star game. So my idea is game 1 happens the same year as the tournament, and then they literally do game 2 and game 3 instead of an All-Star game and an All-Star game. And there's a whole bunch of stuff you have to work out, but obviously it wouldn't be the exact same roster. So that would be actually kind of fun because every year you'd be leading up at like, oh, who's going to make it this time and that kind of stuff. Do you think that would work, or is it just too spread out for a series because, 3 games?
I like the idea, but the only thing is those 2 off years where you're only having 1 game between the 2 winning teams, you now exclude the other teams that were part of the tournament in the first place. Next year, I was shocked that they were even considering it, given that how difficult it is to jam in the NHL schedule as it is. With the Olympic break coming up next year, it would just be so difficult to try and cram that in. I understand Gary Bettman's desire to have a week where they can make some money with an all-star experience with fans going and doing all the fan events and festivals and then having the all-star skills comp and game and all that sort of stuff. But they really did change the expectation of fans when they rolled out this Four Nations Cup, and it was mean something hockey for a change in the middle of the season. It was a break from the regular season for fans, a little less intense, a little less pressure, so it was fun to watch. So I just think you're on the right path, but definitely having some sort of tournament, I think every year works a little better. I just don't know that February is always the time to have it. I don't know. It's we'll have to see. Maybe they move it towards the beginning of the season or something like that, or have it as a preseason tournament. But yeah, there's definitely progress to be made with the idea.
And I'll do this one quick because we're on Willander watch. They did play, the Boston University played their game today. Unfortunately for Willander, they did end up losing 5-2, as you can see on the screen. They lost to the Huskies down there. So they are done. The Terriers, the Boston University Terriers are done, which means that we should probably theoretically be seeing Willander joining the Canucks team in some capacity, probably in the next week or 2.
Yeah, possibly. They do have the national tournament still to play in a week because they're hosting. If for some reason they manage to win that, they will be going to the Frozen Four, which takes place in the middle of April. So the earliest we could see him, I'd say, is first week of April. Latest, probably third week of April.
Cool. Awesome, Dustin. Thanks for coming on. Looks like we're underway for the second period, so we'll chat to you in the post-game show, brother.
Sounds good. Enjoy.
Nothing is perfect.